Hello, welcome to DIY Design by CCW. Thank you so much for clicking on my video. Well, today I will be doing a DIY for you that I hope you will enjoy. Now, I have several glass pieces here. I have a thrifted cylinder as well as some assorted Dollar Tree pieces. Now, these Dollar Tree pieces all have this similar rib design that I'm hoping I can use to make this look like a set when I'm done. Now, I'm not going to be painting today. If you follow my channel, then you probably would expect that I'll be doing some painting, but instead, I'm going to be working with various trims, such as this rhinestone trim, also this Ashland vase filler. I have these crystal knobs. I'll be using these beautiful brooches as well as these other crystals that I'll be using. And I hope you like how this set turns out. Now, I'm going to be also making a decorative tray for you today. And I have some beautiful trims that I'll be working with, such as this Additions trim by Mark Edwards. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is go clean these pieces with alcohol so that everything I do will adhere a little bit better. And then we're going to jump right into today's video. Now, the very first thing I'll be doing is assembling my decorative tray. Now, if you follow this channel, then you know I love making these trays. Decorative trays, perfume trays, whatever you want to call them, but it's one of my favorite things to do. Now, for this tray, I'm going to make it a little bit thicker than I normally would, but I'm going to start by putting together two 12-inch round mirrors, and I'm going to glue some cake boards in between, and then that's going to give us the base, or give me the base for the mirror that I'm going to build for you today. Now, once this sets, then I'm going to come back and add a little bit more embellishment to this decorative tray. So now that the the glue has set on the layers, I'm going to go ahead and start adding some decorative rings. Now, these are floral rings that you can find on Amazon. You can find them at some dollar stores, pretty much any craft store. They're really inexpensive, but I love to work with them when I'm making these trays. And they add a little bit of stability, but I also use them for decoration. Now, once I've glued the ring to the bottom of the tray, I'm going to go ahead and glue on the knobs, and these knobs are going to be the legs of the tray. Now, I'm measuring here just to kind of make sure that the legs are even, and then I'll go ahead and add some glue. Now, for this part of the DIY, I'm using regular E6000 glue because I want to make sure that the legs stay on and that the tray is sturdy. Now, once these are set, I'll flip the tray over and then I'll start to work on the other side of the tray. So now that the legs are glued into place, I will just go ahead and use these clamps to hold the ring securely. And then once the ring is set, everything's dry, I'm going to flip the tray over. All right, so now that everything's dry, the next thing I'll do is to add two additional rings to the top side of the tray. Now for this part, I'm also using the E6000 regular. Now, when I say regular, if you're new to this channel, I usually work with two types of glue. The E6000 quick hold to get a fast hold, and the E6000 regular. But for this application, I'm only using the regular E6000. Now, I'm going to glue, as I said, two rings to get the height that I want, and then I'll go ahead and move on to the next part of the DIY. So now that the rings are dry, it is time to add some decorative filler. Now this again is the Ashland decorative filler, very inexpensive. You can find this typically at Michael's. I'm just basically adding enough to cover the entire mirror surface. And I do want to make sure that it's level enough that I can then apply an acrylic disc on top of the filler. So there you see me kind of patting it down, adding a little bit more to fill in some of those spots. And then I'll test it and see if the tray will, or the decorative tray, acrylic tray I should say, will sit on top. And I see that I need to take just a little bit out just to make sure that the acrylic disc will fit, flush against the rings. And then once I do that, I'll go ahead and get it just like I want. I'm going to go ahead and start adding some glue. Now again, the glue that I'm using in this application is the E6000 regular, the clear, but of course you can use any glue that you like. Here I'm just dabbing a little bit around the edges of the ring, and then once I do that, I'll go ahead and secure the acrylic disc on top. Now typically what I do is sit something, maybe a vase or something on top, just to add a little bit of weight, and then once everything is set, I'll go on and move on to adding some embellishment to the tray. Now that everything is set, I'm going to add one additional ring to the very top of the tray. Now this ring, for this ring, I'm using the same glue, the E6000 Quick Hold. Again, I'll just dab on a little all around the tray, get it in place, secure it, and then once it's set, I'll add the embellishments. I'm starting with this beautiful trim made by Mark Richards. It's an Additions trim, and from his Additions line, I should say. And now to glue this on, excuse me, I want to make sure that this trim stays secure. So you'll see here, I'm going to be using two types of glue. I'll be using the regular E6000 as well as the E6000 Quick Hold. Now you certainly don't have to do that. You can use whatever glue that you like. I have found that this works best for me because it gives me a fast hold, but it also gives me a strong and permanent hold. Now I'm using my little Dollar Tree glue spreader tool that one of you told me about that I absolutely love using, and I'm just going to place the trim around the bottom to cover the cake board, or that area where I use the cake boards. Now, because I'm kind of using some scraps, you're going to notice that I'll have to cut an additional piece to go all the way around, but in the end, I'll be covering the entire bottom, and then I'll move on and add some additional layers. Now, I'm also going to be working with another trim that comes from Joann Fabrics. It's a beautiful rhinestone trim, as well as a 2mm closed chain wrap that comes from eFavormart. Now I'll make sure to leave the information for everything that I'm using down in the description box, but once the tray is done and I've got all the trim in place, I'll move on and start putting the set together, and we'll see how everything turns out. And I'll be back when we get to that part of the video. So now I'll start working on the decorative pieces that will go with the mirror. So I am using, again, most of these pieces except for one are all Dollar Tree pieces. And the idea is to give each piece its own distinctive look, yet I want to make it look like they are a set, like they came together. So you'll see me work with a mix of the same trims, but again, I'll just kind of combine them differently on each of the pieces. So here you see I'm working with one of my favorite little Dollar Tree storage jars, and I'll be using the Mark Richards trim around the top, probably around the bottom as well, along with the other rhinestone trim. And in fact, the other trim that you're going to see me use, it's also an additions trim made by Mark Richards. So I'll make sure that I leave the link down in the description box for that trim as well. So again, I'll let you watch me work here, and I'll come back when I get to another part of the DIY. So for this little piece that I saw at the dollar store, I thought it was so cute because it reminded me of a little perfume bottle. And of course it had the little ridged, surface that the other pieces had. So I thought it would work. So here you'll see that I'm going to be adding some of the same trims, although I'll scale the design down just a little bit because it is a small piece. And then I'll go ahead and see if I can make a little stopper or a perfume bottle stopper, and we'll see how that turns out. Stopper, but what I decided to do, I had a piece of an old knob that that was broken, and I thought, you know what, this would make a good stopper. So here's what I'm doing. I'm just going to glue this little piece onto the bottom of this crystal knob, and then I'm going to add some trim to it, and voila, I'm going to have a stopper. All right, now I'll go ahead and finish this last piece, which is the thrifted cylinder. So again, following the same principles, I'm just going to add the decorative trim, and we'll see how everything turns out. Then it'll be time to move on to the lids. So if you're new to this channel, then of course you wouldn't have seen this before. Those of you that follow the channel, you've seen me make these lids, hundreds of times, because I make lids for everything. Each time I do kind of change it up a little bit. Now for these pieces, since again I didn't paint the pieces and I was going for that clear glass and crystal and diamond sort of look, I'm going to use acrylic disc. So these acrylic discs, they're available in my Amazon shop if you'd like to purchase these, but I'm using a 5-inch disc and I have two 3-inch discs. Now basically I'm just using this rhinestone trim. Again, this is a 2mm closed chain wrap type of trim. This comes from eFavormart, guys, and I have a link down in the description box, down in my description box for eFavormart. This trim is only $10 a roll. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. And you know what? I've used it on a ton of pieces and I've yet to see anything tarnish or have any problems with it. So I definitely recommend it. But anyway, I'm going to add some of this trim to each of the edges or around the edges of each of my acrylic discs, and then once it sets, I'll go ahead and pull off the outer protective covering of the disc, and then I'll move on and start adding the knobs and some other decorative elements. Now, if you make these lids, and if you haven't seen me do this before, and this is new for you, I will tell you, make sure that you glue on whatever you're going to glue on the edge before you take off the protective covering. When I first started making these, I would do it the other way, and I can tell you I ruined quite a few, and it's almost impossible to get the glue off, once the glue is stuck to the acrylic. So make sure that you glue your edge trim or whatever it is, whether it be ribbon or some sort of trim like this. Make sure that you glue that on and then peel off the protective covering. So again, once this trim sets, then I'll come back and we'll move on to the next part. So to finish the lids, I'm going to glue on my knobs, and I'm gluing the knobs on with regular E6000, or rather E6000 quick hold. And now for this, I don't typically measure. I probably should, and maybe you would want to as well, because occasionally I do not get them perfectly centered, but I've made so many of them that typically it does work out. Again, I probably should measure, but I don't. And the next thing I'll be doing is placing the crystals that I want to add to each lid. Now with the crystals, as you can see, I'm going to put 4 on the larger lid. I'll put 4 on one of the smaller lids, and then 3 on the other. And then once I get them into position, I'm going to glue them down. And typically what I like to use is the E6000 bead glue. I find that it dries clear, and that's this glue. And then voila, the set's done. And this is how it turned out. So there's a look at the mirror. I think I like it, but let me know what you think. Again, I've made quite a few of these trays, or at least 4, I think, or 5 of them. And so I'm trying some different looks. But I do like the set. There's how the set turned out. So let's take a closer look at everything. It's a little bit different because, again, I didn't do any painting, but I do like the set, and I like the fact that I can use it probably anywhere that I want to. There you can see how the little perfume bottle turned out, the little decorative trinket containers, the soap dish or soap container or hand soap container, or could also be a lotion container, how that worked out. And then there's the larger container. I like the way the crystals look. I think everything turned out nicely. Again, I'll be right back to painting for the next set, but I thought it would be fun to do something different and see what it would do. I mean, see how it would turn out if I didn't use the paint. So again, let me know what you think. I'd love to hear down in the comments. Is this something that you would make? And if you would make it, is it something that you would give away, or would you keep it for yourself? So again, I thank you so much for watching. And if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, and you like this kind of DIY, I hope that you will do that. I want to thank you to all of you that follow the channel, all of the channel members. Thank you so much for your support. And like I say at the end of every video, I can't wait to see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day or night. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching.